welcome back to my channel. We are 192 strong as of like 3 seconds ago, and yeah, welcome back. I hope you're well. I hope you're hydrated. I hope you are caffeinated, having a great time. Okay, so today's video is just gonna be chilled, chatting kind of vibes, no makeup. Found this jumper in my brother's wardrobe. Pretty sure it's a female's jumper, but sure, look, here we are. Welcome back to my channel from me and my lovely new setup. Yay! It's literally a fluffy blanket on a clothes rail. It's not expensive, it's not fancy, but we're out here flexing like a real one. But I just said that I would make my setup a bit more like glam. Not glam, glam's not the word, but I want to make my setup like, so there's no distraction in the background, it's just us chatting. I might get a more fun background, but for now I only had a pink fluffy blanket in my bedroom, so sorry. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you have subscribed. Subscribe down below, give a thumbs up, all that fun stuff, and let's get going. Today's video is inspired by a gal who asked me a question the last day. If you don't know now, you will know I lived in Australia for a year. So her question was a 1 year review of Australia. Was it hard? Did it live up to expectations? And my advice. So I'm just going to start right from the start because I don't want this video to be very long, but I also want to give some kind of backstory. If you're new to this channel, if this is your first video, welcome. My name is Rebecca. Hit the subscribe button if you like what you see and give it a thumbs up so I know that you're interested in this kind of content. Anyway, I digress. Last April, I moved to Sydney, Australia. I moved over, it was a completely last minute decision. I only decided last January. And I saved for a few months, didn't really save a lot, to be honest. Could have saved a lot more, but I moved to Australia last April. I already had friends over in Australia, so it's not like I moved alone. I didn't like go and not know anyone. Like I did go alone technically, but I didn't go to somewhere where I knew no one and that kind of vibe, you know. I got the working holiday visa, which if you're Irish, if you're from Ireland, it's so easy to get. I literally applied online. I think it was around €200 and I had it within like 40 minutes. Like you just get an email and it gets approved. I didn't really find it hard moving away from home. I had lived in Dublin beforehand for like 2 years, over 2 years. I'm not sure. And I know obviously Dublin isn't as far away as Australia is, but I had moved out of home, so I do think that made it easier. I was also like 24, 23 when I left, nearly 24. So it's not like I was very young either. I wouldn't say, like I wasn't like 18 fresh out of college, straight going. I lived away from home. Basically I was ready to go. Like I had made the decision to go, so I knew that I wanted to go, because I feel like if I really didn't want to go, I wouldn't have made the decision. Do you get me? Like I feel like if a thought comes into your head and you're like, oh, I'd love to go there, then you should just do it. Like obviously once you have the funds and you don't have like any major responsibilities holding you back, I do think that if you have an urge to go somewhere, you should just do it, because you will never know until you try. I always knew I wanted to go home for Christmas, so I went in April and I knew I was going to see my family in December. I also had amazing friends out in Sydney, so was it hard that way? No. I will say that obviously depending on the kind of person you are, you might be like, I am very family orientated. I am a Taurus, so I don't like change, but I found it fine. I found finding an apartment very easy, finding a job very, like Sydney has loads and loads of jobs. Once you want a job and go out and look for work, it's fine. So I don't think it was hard. but like the rent was crazy. Like my rent in my first apartment was 400 Australian dollars a week. I'll put the conversion in euro up here because I'm not about to do it now. $400 a week, and that was me paying that myself. Like I wasn't sharing a room with anyone or anything like that. A lot of people in Sydney do share rooms, but then you could be earning like $800 up a week. So like depending on the job you get, do you know? Most places, see my first place as well was like right beside the beach, Coogee Beach. Yeah, rent kind of starts from anywhere for a room by yourself from $300, I would say, and that would be either including bills or not including bills. Was it hard personally for me? No. Depending on what type of person you are, it could be very hard, but I would always say at least give a place 6 months, because your first 6 months you're just settling in, you're getting used to it, new surroundings, new place to live, new people, everything like that. So I would definitely say, with anything you do, with anywhere you move in the world, give it 6 months. If after 6 months it's like you hate it to the fact where it's affecting your mental health, then like leave. But you know, like if you want to travel, if you want to see the world, if you want to experience living in a different place, if you want to move somewhere because your career, then just do it. Like there's going to be days where it's hard, there's going to be days where you want to be at home, and if there's like a family wedding or a family event or a christening or a communion or someone gets engaged or someone has a baby or whatever, like those days will be hard. Like it's not, and especially time difference as well in Australia, like you're waking up and they're going to bed kind of thing. So in that regard it would be hard, but it's definitely worth it. If it's something you've been thinking of doing, then there's no point putting it off, because you're only going to look back and be like, I wanted to do that, why didn't I do it? Whereas if you've no want to move anywhere, to live in a different country, then you're never going to regret it. Whereas if you're really thinking, like I feel like I do get a lot of questions like in my DMs, like would you recommend it, was it hard, I'd love to go, I'd love to do it. If you'd love to do it, then just go. Like the worst thing that can happen is you'll absolutely hate it and you'll come home. Like no one's gonna care. Like at least you tried it then. Did it live up to expectations? See, with me personally, I like Australia was never on my radar. And when I say never on my radar, like it was so far off my radar. Like I was kind of the mindset like, no, I wouldn't go there, it's so far away, it's the other side of the world, like it's not a very like you wouldn't go to Australia for the culture, you know. It wouldn't have been on my top 10 lists of places to see in the world or live. But it is very easy to get a visa for there, like as opposed to America. Didn't want to go to Canada, and then I didn't want to like live in another place in Europe. I don't have a degree, so I wasn't going to go to Dubai and teach English because I can't, and I wasn't on the, like I didn't want to go to Vietnam and teach English. So like Australia was, and a few of my friends were going to Australia, so I was like, why not? Like there was a certain, last January I was at like a crossroads, would you say? There was a few things that happened that like changed my life path and direction, I guess, and I was like, fuck it, I'll go to Australia. Like that was how I went to Australia. So I won't say that I had huge expectations, because genuinely I didn't really think about it that much, and I didn't really think about what it was going to be like. I just knew, weather was my expectation. Like it's going to be sunny all the time, I'm going to be like on home and away, that kind of vibe. And in that regard, Sydney gets cold. If you're moving to Australia, I would advise you move in the months between October and January, because if you, like I moved in April and their winter kind of starts April, May time. So I moved to Sydney coming into their winter. So I had already had like the Irish winter, and then I moved to Australia the start of the Australian winter. So I had like a year of winter, which was fab. But it's like Australia gets cold, Sydney gets cold. It might be like 16 degrees, but 16 degrees in Australia is freezing. You're gonna need warm clothes. You're not going on a year-long sun holiday. You're not. That's like, obviously depending on what part of Australia you move to. Melbourne is kind of like, in the summer it gets sunny, but in the winter it gets cold. Sydney's pretty similar. It's not going to snow, but you know, I think Perth, the weather's generally better all year round, I think. Don't quote me on that. Other than that, I really didn't go, see, I don't ever set my expectations too high. Like, I'd never be like, oh my god, I hope it's amazing and it's going to be the best thing I ever do in my life and blah blah blah. So I wasn't really expecting much out of Sydney. I just kind of wanted something new, something different, just to go and experience, and that's what I did, and it definitely was an experience. I went to Australia with, like, some people go to Australia with the whole like, this is my new life, this is where I'm going to live, I'm going to set up a life here, this is my new home basically. Whereas I went to Australia with the mindset of, I'm just going for a year. So I feel like I was never going to settle there, because I didn't, like, settling there wasn't my plan. I wasn't going to Australia to settle. So I feel like when you move to a new place, you're either going just for a year to travel, or you're going to like set up something for yourself. You know, you're either going like for a new job and like to try get your career going, or you're just going to travel. So it depends which one of the parties you're in. Obviously, if you're going to try and set up a life there, then you'd have a completely different experience to what I had, and I feel like everyone has a different experience anyway. Did it live up to expectations? I didn't really have many. It was a good, like, it was a good place to travel. Like, I got to see more of the world and I met some amazing people, and if you don't know, I brought a little souvenir, a 6'4" souvenir home with me, so that was great. For me, it was never going to be a place that I was going to settle. It's way too far away. It's literally the other side of the world, but I'm glad I saw it, you know? Like, I was never going to live in Australia for the rest of my life, but I'm glad I went there. Advice. My advice for anyone moving to Australia: save as much euros as you can, because when you go to Australia, your money is going to be nearly double. Like, the exchange rate is crazy at the moment. 100 euro is about $160, so you're getting like 1.6 times whatever you have. So if you had 500 euro, you'd have nearly $1,000. So I would definitely say save as much euros as possible, because the more money you have in your bank account, like, the less you're going to be worried about money. Like, if you go to Australia tomorrow, you're looking for an apartment, you're going to have to pay, say, 2 weeks rent up front and maybe a month's bond, which you get back at the end of your rent. But that's like a chunk of money already gone when you get there. You have to set up your phone, you have to set up your bank. You're not going to get work straight away. It might take 1 or 2 weeks. If you're lucky, it might take a month, depending on what kind of work you're trying to get into. So you want to have like a bank account with money in it, so you're not stressing. Like, when you move over to Australia, you want to enjoy it your first few weeks. You'd want to be like, oh, I need to get a job, I need to get an apartment, I need to earn money, blah 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 blah, because that'll only stress you out. And if you're going to Australia to enjoy it, then you want to enjoy every second and like take in everything. So I would definitely say have as much money saved as possible. If you want to get a loan, you could do it that way. Go to your bank, go to your credit union, just set up a direct debit and you can pay that off. But I would definitely not go with less than 2,000 euro. Like, 2,000 euro would be minimum. that I would go to Australia with. And that's like before, like after you've booked your flights. Like your flights are gonna cost you around €1,000, give or take. It is a long ass flight. If you have never flown out of Europe, you want to fly with a good airline to Australia. You don't want to go into Skyscanner and pick the cheapest flight you see. I flew with Emirates when I went, like Emirates, Etihad, Qatar, Cathay Pacific, Emirates. Like they'd be like the most known airlines, I guess, that fly to Australia. British Airways, I know, do if you're flying from London or anywhere, but you want to fly with a good airline because it is a long flight, and there's nothing worse on a long haul flight than a shitty long haul flight. Trust me, like it takes time to get to Australia, and especially if you're going alone, you want to feel comfortable and taken care of. So definitely one piece of advice is do not skimp on your flights. Yes, you can still get a good value flight in Skyscanner, but just don't pick the cheapest one with an airline that you've never heard of, because it's only going to end one way. Other advice, I would say, don't pack as if you're going on a tropical holiday. Definitely pack a few pairs of jeans, ankle boots, like stuff for the winter, for the rain, because although it mightn't get freezing cold, it will rain there. I didn't have a rain jacket and I had to go into H&M and just buy like anything. They have H&M over there. Like you can buy stuff over there, clothes and stuff. Like nothing's, like everyone was like, oh, it's so expensive in Australia. It's not. Like when you put the exchange rate back to euro, it's kind of the same. Like obviously there's no pennies there, but like general clothes, you can get like Pretty Little Thing, Misguided, all that kind of stuff delivered. I wouldn't be like stressing about clothes, but I would definitely be prepared that it's not like a tropical island like I thought it was. Any other advice? Just, I think my main piece of advice is just go. If you were thinking of going to Australia or wherever in the world, and you've been thinking about it and you're like waiting for people, and you're like, oh no, I'll go when this person's ready, I'll go when that person's ready, just go. Just go. Like if you're waiting on a friend group to go, once you make the decision, one other person's gonna be like, actually I'll go too, or you're gonna go on your own, but you're always gonna know someone. And it's so easy to like meet people and make friends. Like I wouldn't be putting your life on hold because you're afraid to go alone, or you're afraid to just make the jump. Just plan it. Like say if you think now, right, I want to go to Australia. Say right now, it's June next week. So if you say right now, right, I want to go to Australia, I want to start saving. So I would probably aim to go say next January. Right? So if you're like, right, I've decided I want to go to Australia, go next January. Christmas is over, you've had a great time Christmas, nothing really happens in January now, you're not missing out. So then you just want to start saving and just have a plan in place, have a number. Like say if you're like, right, I want €5,000 going to Australia, I have until January to save that. Just make a plan and just have a date set in mind. January will be like height of summer in Australia, and then if you want to stay 2 years, you have to do farming. You don't want to do your farming in the height of the summer in Australia, like you don't. So what I'd recommend is go do your farming in the winter. So you could either go to Australia in April or May and go straight to the farm, or you could go in January and do January, February, March, April in whatever city you want, Melbourne, Perth, Sydney, and then go do your farming. Any more advice? Yeah, I'd just say go. Like I think that's my biggest piece of advice. Just go. Just get out of here. Just go. Just travel. Like you're never gonna regret it. It's either gonna teach you something you didn't know about yourself. It's gonna be the best experience of your life. You might find the love of your life. You might have a great time with friends. Like you're always gonna get something positive out of traveling, out of being self-sufficient, out of doing your own thing. Like it's never going to be negative. No matter what happens, it's never going to be negative. And you can always get a flight home. Like always, always, always just have enough money in your bank account that if something, touch wood, tragic happens, or if you're like, no, I'm done, that you can book that flight home. That's why I'm saying just save money. Just save, no matter, just have a goal and just save it. Just save the money, save the dollar bills, because you won't regret. You're not going to regret having too much money. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, I saved too much. And yeah, you'll have a ball. Like, if you're planning on moving anywhere new, you'll have a ball. Like, it will be such a fun experience. I had so many insane experiences in Australia. Like, I had so much fun. But on that note as well, I will say moving away doesn't solve problems. Like, you're not gonna, if you have a lot of problems in your life right now, moving to a different country isn't going to make them disappear. It's just going to mask. Like, I feel like you have to deal with that as well. Like, you can't just be like, yeah, I'm going to move to Australia and all my life problems will be solved, because they won't, because you're just geographically in a different place, you know. You're not like, do you get me? Unless your problem is like you can't find a job, you'll be able to find a job there. But if you have like big emotional problems, they're not gonna be solved by moving away. Like, do you get me? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, I would definitely recommend, if you're thinking about moving to Australia, I'm never gonna tell someone don't go, because if you're thinking about it, it means you want to go. Like, you can watch all the YouTube videos you want of people and their experience and what they did and how they found it and would they recommend it, but like at the end of the day, everyone's gonna have a different experience, and I'm never not going to recommend traveling. So yeah, I think that's it really. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please subscribe below and give a thumbs up. We're nearly at 200 subscribers. I think we have 192 now. Yeah, 192. Woo! Can that focus? Look at that. So subscribe down below if you haven't already. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more videos like this, please leave a comment down below or give the video a thumbs up, because that lets me know that you enjoy this kind of video. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Bye!